So what's up people and welcome to the Mission 80 discussion of Spy Family. So Mission 80 came out a little while back, and as always I will leave a link to this mission that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this mission back. Okay, so I am starting to sound like a broken record really bad. But I will once again have to say, Tatsuya Endo is a master in the transitioning of his story. He is so good at transitioning from a very hilarious story to a tense action one, and vice versa. And Mission 80 is once again a good example of that. The other thing I really like about Mission 80 is that it is indicating that we are going once again into another major arc. And this one looks really, really interesting. Now, what was interesting is something that I never expected for this mission was that we were continuing on from the last mission. Now, if you recall, the last mission was somewhat self-contained, and it was a hilarious side story about your getting drunk while talking with Camille, Sharon, and Millie. And because of that, she gets a really strange outlook on what a normal couple is supposed to be. And if you recall in the last episode, it ended with Yor almost having a heart attack because she realized that one of the things she had to do was to give her hubby a nice big kiss. And knowing whenever Yor gets drunk and whenever it involves a kiss, usually somebody gets very much injured. And in the last episode, it was actually Yor that fell down. But I expected that would end with Mission 79. But lo and behold, we start Mission 80 where she wakes up hungover. But once her head clears, she realized what she did last night. And she goes completely into an anxiety mode once again. Now, what's interesting is within Mission 80, we see a very nice scene with regards to Loid and Anya. And Anya turns out to be the most normal character in this particular mission. I haven't seen that for a seriously long time. She was basically acting just like a normal kid. But she goes off on a trip to the zoo with her best friend Becky. And that, of course, leaves Loid and Yor alone. And considering Yor is having some weird thoughts from last night, it is a perfect time for her to talk to Loid about this. Now, what's interesting is she remembers what she needs to do with regards to being considered a normal couple. And that is that she has to make a lot of gripes about Loid. But she completely forgets the other side, which is, of course, to give her hubby a big kiss. Somewhere along the way, she conveniently forgets about that, but she completely remembers that she needs to give a lot of gripes about Loid. And that's how this entire chapter starts out, and it is absolutely hilarious. Because Yor is completely in that mode again of making sure to protect the family and making sure the family is considered normal by complaining to death about Loid and his actions. And since she slept in, which was very unusual, Loid brings it up as, "Are you okay?" And he was concerned about her. But of course, Yor considers this as, "Oh, Loid is making a gripe about me. Well, if he's starting the conversation like that, I better continue it." And so she starts talking about that. And of course, Loid, because Yor is acting very strange, is worried that something is wrong. And so, as a good husband, he says that if there is anything wrong, you should tell me right away, because I will do whatever I can to support you. And Yor comes back with, "Well, to be honest, everything is wrong about you." And she actually says, I am not satisfied with regards to our life together. And that by itself would be traumatic to Loid. But lo and behold, Tatsuya Endo amplifies it even more by introducing Yuri to the conversation. And Yuri comes in, of course, being a complete siscon. And the moment he hears that Yor is not happy with the relationship, he immediately turns to Loid and starts accusing him of destroying their marriage. And Loid, being Loid, goes into correction mode right away. And he starts talking about wanting to know more about Yor's true feelings. And so he starts asking questions such as, what are your gripes? And how long have you had them? Because it's not a healthy idea to hold it in. And of course, since Yor really learned about this from Sharon, Camille, and Millie, she's like, oh, I just started having gripes yesterday. Which surprises Loid even more. It's like, what the heck happened yesterday that makes her so upset today? And so when Loid goes and apologizes because he needs to correct this right away, Yor's like, no, don't apologize. I need to have my grapes. I want to make sure that our marriage is good. So please don't apologize because I need to have all these complaints so that we look like we are having a really good marriage. And of course, Loid is like, oh my gosh, Yor is so angry. She's not even accepting my apologies anymore. And of course, Yuri's accusing Loid of making Yor unhappy. But of course, Yor isn't unhappy, so she immediately tells Yuri to just shut up because he doesn't know what he's talking about. We are a perfectly happy family. We are very, very happy, but I have gripes about everything. Which makes him like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm really sad that Yor told me to shut up. So this is some tremendous, really weird comedy that's going on. And it's all because of Yor logic, right? I finally realized that there must be something called Yor logic, which is completely logical and completely makes sense to Yor, but it doesn't make any sense to anybody else around her. And it's at this point that we see this transition, because while Loid wants to resolve this right away, he gets a call from the hospital. Now, you have to understand, this is Loid's day off, so he's supposed to be with the family. But this is a very important emergency call, something wrong with the patient, and he has to come to the hospital right away. And so he tells Yor and Yuri, well, he's going to have to leave and take care of something at the hospital. We could talk about it once I get back. And Yor is like, oh, hey, look at that. I have an opportunity to have a gripe, because she remembers that one of the gripes the girls had yesterday was that their significant other wouldn't spend a lot of time with them. So she immediately starts saying, how can you go to work during a time when you're supposed to be with the family? How dare you do that? I'm not really mad, but how dare you do that, because I need to have my gripes, right? And of course, Loid is trying to figure out how to resolve this, but at this time, it's such an important call that he has to go. Which of course makes us as readers realize that this is seriously important. Whatever that call meant, it was very serious for Loid to actually leave Yor in the state. And so he leaves. And what's funny is, considering Yor complained about Loid leaving and Loid left anyway, Yor is perfectly happy because she was never unhappy about their relationship. She just wanted to have a gripe. And so now she's looking at Yuri going, wow, with all of this that happened and with Loid leaving me, Yuri can see just how loving and normal a couple we are. And Yuri's like, what the heck is going on? And while he's thinking about it, he comes up with a thought. Why did Loid leave during his day off? Maybe it had nothing to do with the hospital. Maybe he's having an affair. which of course surprises Yor. But considering the relationship was never an issue with her, it was only that she needed to have a gripe, she's like, well, it's not really a problem with it. But of course, Yuri's like, no, we gotta get to the bottom of this. I gotta find enough evidence to be able to kick that idiot out of the household, you know? And so they decide to tail Loid. But considering Loid is Twilight, he immediately notices that he's being tailed. And of course, this creates yet more humorous situations. But what's interesting is right at this time, Yuri's boss is seen. And he tells Yuri to come in because there's something seriously important going on at headquarters. And so considering that it is a very serious command, as much as he wants to follow and capture Loid, he decides to go with his boss. And so this leaves Yor all alone. And she continues to tail Loid until he actually does go to the hospital. And eventually Yor is thinking, what the heck am I doing? And she goes home. And so this leaves Loid free to be able to do what he needs to do. And it turns out to be something as we expect. It has nothing to do with him being a psychiatrist. It has to do with him being an agent. And Fiona debriefs him on what happened. And it turns out that the WISE organization noticed that there was a mole, a plant, in their organization in West Dallas. And because the plant was there, that mole was able to get hold of some very important information. And that mole was on their way back to Ostania to give that information to the Ostanian secret police. So now we're getting an idea of why Yuri was called back in. And Fiona raises the stakes because she said the information that that mole received was so important that one of the things that the mole has is information about Operation Strix. In other words, if that mole is successful in bringing that information back to the East, there is a tremendous threat that could potentially put a lot of lives in danger, including their own. And so the WISE organization has mobilized seriously to be able to capture the mole before they can reach the Ostanian secret police. But in the meantime, of course, since the mole was in constant communication with the Ostanian secret police, they know that the mole is coming back with some seriously important information. So they are also mobilizing to ensure that the mole can safely come back to disclose that information. And with that, we finish Mission 80 with a seriously strong note. That is why I say I got a feeling this is turning out to be the next big arc. And considering we're now talking about the first real strong conflict between the Ostanian secret police and the WISE organization, and more specifically, Yuri and Loid, this is going to be very interesting. Now, what is interesting also is this all started out with Yor. If Tatsuya Endo wanted to start this big arc, they could have started specifically with that point, the mole. But instead, they had this really wacky situation with Yor, which makes one wonder, will Yor get involved with this? And if Yor does get involved, will she be on her own? Or will she be involved as an assassin for Garden? This will be seriously interesting if Yor gets put into the equation. But now, this is really moving forward to something that's very, very tense. And it may be the biggest arc we have, or at least the most important arc we have since the start of the series. So I am really looking forward to seeing what happens in Chapter 81. We may get some more information about Yor and her desire to make sure that she has a good couple by constantly having more gripes about Loid. I don't know. But whatever the case, the story is definitely going to go to give more information about this conflict. And I am looking forward to that. And once Chapter 81 comes out, I'll bring out another video and hope you join me at that time. But this is the Mission 80 discussion for Spy Family. If you read it, what you think about it, any comments you can leave will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.